Welcome, everybody. Thanks for another day of White Glove and NAPA pairing up to really show advisors what's working today, give you real actionable items to see growth in this hybrid environment that we're talking about. So if you joined us yesterday, you learned a little bit more about White Glove, who we are, where we came from, some of the things that we do. Today, we're going to talk specifically on prospecting seminars. We're going to talk about what's working, what to expect, and top tactics for optimal events. Please tune in later this week. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking on webinars. Thursday, we talk about the digital landscape. Only the social will survive. We're going to get into what social media channels you should look at, how you can become effective through those channels. And then Friday, we're going to put this all together and show you how to develop a marketing plan that actually delivers and keep you away from that shiny object syndrome that many agents and advisors fall into, where they're just trying one thing and moving to the next and moving to the next. So, if you didn't tune in yesterday, who White Glove is, we started in this industry as a seminar company with one very simple mentality: is advisors should spend their time focused on talking to new prospects and speaking with their clients. All that other minutia, that garbage, that other stuff that detracts you from that is slowing your business down, if not grinding it to a halt. So we developed a system that just helps you get in front of new people without doing any of that, without taking any of the risks. So we're going to talk a little bit about the White Glove solution at the end of today's event. But today, right now, let's get into high converting seminars. We're going to talk about the key points that really will make you book more appointments, see more prospects, and how to run a successful event. Now, White Glove has a solution for this. If you don't use White Glove, there's going to be absolutely valuable stuff in here that will help you have a successful seminar with or without White Glove. So what we've done today is we've broken this down into the three most essential parts to focus on when you're hosting a seminar that will actually encourage action. And those three things that we're going to cover today is success begins before you ever step on stage. Okay, we're going to tell you how to set up your events. We're going to show you exactly what you should focus on, give you some actionable items when you're planning your next seminar. And then we're going to get into dynamic openings. You need to get your audience to lean in. We're going to show you exactly how to do that so you never bore your audience again. You never lose someone in the first 2 minutes. And then finally, top closes that drive the correct people to meet with you. If you can prepare for your event, have a killer opening and a very impactful close, you're going to dramatically increase your effectiveness when it comes to seminars. And those are the things that we're going to cover today. And you know what? If you stick around to the end, we're going to go through the White Glove solution and show you how you can have your next seminar completely risk-free. There might even be a special offer here at the end. But if you have any concerns on, what the venue rules are for hosting in your area, what happens if there's a COVID spike and things shut down, if you have any concerns about is this the right time to get back into seminars, definitely stick around to the White Glove solution because we're going to show you how to do that absolutely risk-free. So here are the three things that we're going to cover today, and let's get right into the first one. Success begins before you step on that stage. So to be prepared, you have to be ready to engage and convert, and that's going to take more prep than you can imagine. So as we get into this first topic, let's talk about what do you need? What are the essentials that you need before you do a seminar? Now, some of this stuff just makes sense, right? But ultimately, when you can prepare ahead of time, that's going to keep you from, having a poor performing seminar. And we've worked with thousands of advisors. We've done 22,000 seminars. And here are some of the very simple things that allow you to see success. Now, first, picking an audience or picking a topic for your audience, right? The presentation that you're going to give. One thing to keep in mind, this is not about you, right? This is not about what you want to talk about. I talk to advisors about this all the time, and they say, well, this is what I do in my practice. This is what I sell. This is what I do, and this is what I want to talk about. Well, that's great, but ultimately what you need to do is talk to the correct prospects about what concerns them. Okay, think about it as, they're attending a doctor, they're going to a doctor's office, and then you're going in there saying, this is what I want to talk about. Well, you can't. You got to ask questions. You got to learn what they want. So when you're picking a presentation, look at simple things like, what kind of language is in there? Is this talking at them? Is it talking to them? Or is it talking about stuff that doesn't really concern them because it's more about what you want to say? I always say that if an advisor, if we could fill a room full of highly affluent people that are interested in flower arranging, an advisor better learn the difference between a daffodil and a dandelion and find out how to pivot from that conversation to what you do in your day job, right? But it's all about building credibility, not necessarily about what that end goal is. So when you pick a presentation and you pick a topic specifically, think about what is concerning to your top clients right now. And other people that mirror your top clients, it's probably what concerns them as well. So we're going to get into the best topic performance here in a little bit when we get into the White Glove section. But also we're just going to give you a sneak peek right now and tell you what works. So venues, let's talk about venues. All the rules are new, right? All of them. It's not about flash. Okay, it's not about what venue you think is the most attractive. What it's about is comfort and credibility. And some of the most credible educational events, because if you're doing a seminar, it has to be educational. That's how you win. It's not about sales, it's about education. But some of the most credible events, think library, think community center, think small local college. Okay. Interestingly enough, the dinner and the lunch and learn seminars are actually bringing in some of the ideal clients that would never go to a dinner event before. And I talked to many advisors that have written off dinner seminars because they don't like the plate lickers, right? I see that terminology, plate lickers. And one of the things that is interesting in today's environment is that there's all sorts of new rules, right? We don't know. Are we supposed to mask? Are we not supposed to mask? Can I sit next to somebody? Can I not sit next to somebody? Your ideal prospect may have not been inside of a library and community center in 2 years. Okay, so having a restaurant as an option, it's not necessarily about that steak dinner anymore. It's about that comfort level saying, you know what, I've been in a restaurant last week. I know that I can sit next to my partner. I know that I wear a mask up into the door, then I take it off, or whatever the policy is, but they know it. They're not worried about looking foolish. They're not worried about, do I do this or that? It's just a comfort level, right? But they're still there. If you pick the right presentation and the right topic, they're still there to get an education. So if you took dinner seminars off of your channel there for a while, think about bringing those back and putting them back on. At least for the time being, we're seeing from the consumer standpoint that they're just saying, hey, I feel more comfortable going to a place that has a clear COVID policy. I was just at this restaurant 3 weeks ago. I understand what it's all about, right? So just think about that. Other side of venues, if you are looking for that educational credibility, let me tell you this. It's not about how flashy it is. It's not about the most prestigious lobby. It's not about the most gorgeous grounds. It's about, does this venue give off a educational feel, or does it give off this kind of posh, bougie, potentially salesy feel? Think about that when you're looking at the country club for your next event, or how your office has a great conference room there's never been a more beautiful conference room. Those things all pull comfort off the table, and they also do not speak to the event's credibility. So think about that when you're booking a venue. This is silly to even say this, but practice. You have to know your presentation cold. The tech's going to fail. The Wi-Fi is not going to work. The PowerPoint slide isn't going to display correctly. Something's going to happen, right? And you want to be able to talk through all of that without having to fumble with all of that stuff. And the last thing you want to do is practice in front of your prospects. So you have to know that material cold. And I say that a lot. Don't practice in front of your prospects. Most events come with a significant marketing spend. And by not preparing ahead of time, by not doing trial runs, recording yourself, watching it back to see how you did, right? Pros watch game film. Without doing that ahead of time, you're setting yourself up for failure. And if you've done seminars for years and years and years, but maybe you haven't been on stage, in the last year and a half, I highly recommend you record it, you get back into it, you do it a few more times, but make sure you are practicing. And this one almost ties right into how simple it is, but without doing it, you run the risk of failure. You have to have follow-up planned in place. You can't do the seminar and then think, okay, well, now what do I do? How do I follow up with these people? You have to be prepared to work those leads immediately. And you have to be able to have time on your schedule to meet those prospects while they're still hot. Every day that goes by when they walk out of that classroom and they say, hey, you know what? That was great material. I need to meet with that person. Every day you wait between then and when you actually have that meeting, that attendee gets colder and colder and colder. Now, seminars are great for planting that seed, and then a life event happens 8 months down the road, 2 years down the road, and they say, oh man, who was that one presenter that talked to us all about, estate planning and generational planning, how we need to prepare for this? Well, now I do. I need to reach out to them. We hear those stories all the time at White Glove, how someone did a seminar in January, and then all of a sudden in August, they got a phone call from that guy and moved over $2 million. Or 3 years down the road, they get a phone call. Hey, you were the guy that taught me that in taxes and retirement. But that doesn't happen unless you have that follow-up in place. You give that powerful presentation, you follow up, let them know exactly who you are, what you do, but you have to have time in your schedule to do that. So make sure you're preparing ahead of time to have that follow-up planned. So let's say you do some marketing, you do a mailer, you do a digital mailer, you got some registrations, your event's starting to fill up, so you think, be quite honest, when you're preparing for your event, you got a registration, now the work actually comes into play. It's a numbers game, but a people business, right? And you have that registration, but what you have to do is have a cadence built in so that you can have email, you can have text, you can have a phone call, and make sure that you are connecting with that person before the event to remind them when it is, to give them driving directions if they need it, to answer any questions that they might have. White Glove system has text, email confirmations, an email cadence, if you will, and then we do professional phone calls for it. You need to have that system in place as well before you spend $1 in marketing, right? So get your CRM tuned up, make sure you have that set of emails. It's not one email, it's a set of emails, right? A thank you, directions, confirmation of their registration, a reminder, the day before, and then send a text. People read text. It's that simple, right? You get the notification on your phone, you look at it and say, oh, I got 20% off at Bed Bath & Beyond. That's nice, right? I might not respond to it. I might not go to Bed Bath & Beyond to buy anything. In fact, I usually don't, but I read that text, right? So people read text. It's some crazy stat that 98% of texts are read within the first 3 minutes. Okay, so have that plan in place as long as compliance allows you to do that. And finally, you have a phone call. Be likable, be professional, welcome them to the event. There's a polite way to welcome them, make sure the class is fit for them. But let's be honest, there is a very good chance they're not going to pick up the phone. So when you have that phone call cadence, you might want to leave a message. You might want to do a set of 2 phone calls just to make sure that they receive that message. And you know what? I might not answer a phone call from a service I signed up, but I can read the voicemail later, or I can listen to it later. And to me, that's more beneficial. I'll listen to that when I have time and they give me some pertinent information, a warm, welcoming voice in the voicemail. That's great. And you know what? You're not going to bug people, because if they don't want to talk to you, they're just not going to answer the phone. Yes, you're going to get that one person that answers the phone and says, why are you calling? I don't know what you're talking about, right? That is always going to happen, but have that in place. So phone call, text, and email. You have to work those registrations in order to turn those into attendees. So with White Glove, we've tested probably 90 different event topics in the last 2 years. We've tested 25 different venue types. And I just want to give you the secret sauce of what we're seeing is working. So our results, we're seeing about a 95% attendee fulfillment, a little bit lower attendance rates on webinars and in-person seminars. But what's interesting is that the venue selection that we've found and this is based on data, right? This is 22,000 events that we have run that is just going to tell you, right? This isn't an advisor's gut saying, you know what, that business center next to my office, it's really pretty. I think it's really well known in the community. I think people are really going to like it. It's got that cool water feature out front. It's a beautiful space. Can't tell you how many times I've heard that. That is one of the worst performing venues. Your office, a conference room next to your office, a business center that resides near your office, right? You get the theme here. And it's just because you're advertising for an educational event. You're advertising to come in and learn, and then you're immediately putting them in a position or in an environment that could be used for sales. And that is just a mixed message altogether. You might get decent registrations, but you're going to have poor attendance. And that's just how it is. Hotels kind of get that same rap where, you know, the timeshare presentations, right? You come to a hotel and you learn all this stuff, and then they're going to sell you at the end, right? That's the venue selections that you always want to avoid if at all possible. You know what? That community center across the street, it might not have the water feature out front. It might not have the Fiji bottled water available. You can buy water, you can bring it yourself, right? But that's not why they're coming. They're coming for an education. They're coming to feel comfortable. And if they feel pressure that it's going to be sales, you know, in your office, near your office, in a business center, in a hotel, if they think in the back of their mind the whole time you're talking, they're mentally preparing, okay, when's that sales pitch that I got to shoot down, right? You are doing yourself a disservice. Not only is your attendance going to be worse, but the attendees that do show up are going to have their guard so high, they're going to say, hey, this guy's going to try to sell me something. I will have my guard up. And that is one of the hardest barriers to get past, right? You have to be an A-plus presenter, getting up there, being likable, being, you know, showcase your credibility and to build trust in that hour in order to break down those barriers. Or you do it at a library, a community center, you know, like I said, a restaurant now, just because of that little bit of a change in the environment. These things bring that barrier down automatically. Okay, you know what? I'm not afraid of a sales pitch at a library. I've never been to a library once and been sold anything, right? Restaurant, yeah, there is still that little bit of a stigma there's going to be a sales pitch, but you're also combating a little bit with the comfort level that they get to key in. You're bribing them a little bit with food, let's be honest. But there's an honorable mention for some other spaces that we've seen work really well, like theaters, art centers, again, non-sales environments, but those tend to give it a little bit different feel. There's a little bit more space usually to space people out during COVID. Those are things to think on. So if you use White Glove, we're going to tell you use this, this, and this. We'll actually find them for you. If you're not going to use White Glove, if you want to see higher attendance, stay away from those advisor offices, hotels, and business centers. So I said we did 90 different topics. These 3 topics are the top performing, most reliable topics that you can pick. Social Security, we have seen a huge resurgence in this topic. People are very concerned about it. People have more and more questions about it, and it is definitely coming back. In 2015, 2016, almost all of our advisors wanted to talk Social Security, right? And then 2017, we started doing taxes and retirement, which still seems to be a highly requested topic from advisors, but also it performs very well in most areas, is what we're seeing, right? But what's interesting about that is 2016, we were telling advisors, hey, you should do taxes and retirement. It's a nice pivot. You're talking about a lot of retirement vehicles, but still doing education and everything is tax related, right? I can't tell you the number of times I had an advisor say, I'm not a CPA, I don't want to talk about taxes. And now 90% of our events are taxes and retirement because advisors got comfortable with that pivot. They understood that, hey, you know what, everything I do does have a tax implication. Let's inform people about it. And it's high on the minds of the consumers, right? Everybody hates taxes. And if they can find a way to avoid that, or if they have significant assets for retirement and they have concerns over that, then they will attend a taxes and retirement class. But like I said, that's the most requested topic by advisors today. Now, let's look at estate planning for just a second. Estate planning, generational planning, if you think about the marketing message behind that, It speaks to people that have enough wealth that they are concerned how to take care of their grandkids. Okay, so naturally, just that topic alone, we are seeing brings in the highest average net worth of any of the topics available. Now, the thing that blows my mind just a little bit is that even though it's a higher net worth, even though when you're planning for, generational planning, you're looking at estate planning, you have to understand all of the retirement assets, otherwise you can't plan for it, right? It seems like a pivot that could be worked into your practice, that we're still only seeing about 12% of our events or 12% of the advisors out there willing to speak to consumers about estate planning. And what that leads to is the consumer demand is outpacing the advisor supply. I'm sure many of you today on the call, maybe you worked with an estate planning attorney in the past. They're always happy to take leads from financial advisors, right? They're happy to take people from you and give you absolutely nobody in return. That's kind of the mentality, right? And if you think about, an estate planning attorney, they're getting leads from CPAs, they're getting leads from advisors. To tell you the truth, they're very big on SEO. That's how they do their marketing. They don't do a lot of seminars. And the public, especially the affluent consumers out there, they want to learn this stuff. They want to know, they want to attend these events. And there is a shortage for advisors getting in front of these people and educating them how their financial plan correlates for future generations. So attendance is stronger, fulfillment is stronger, and it allows you to stand out from your competition. If you want to be the guy that is doing this topic when everybody else is talking about that, look at estate planning and see if that works for you. So, okay, we've talked a little bit about seminar success before you're preparing for it. Let's get right into, okay, the seminar starts, there's people standing in front of you. What in the heck do you do to capture their attention right away and make sure that you don't lose them in the first 3 minutes? So first thing, skip all the boring pleasantries. The stuff that I did at the very beginning of this webinar, how many of you were paying just vivid attention to that? Like, oh my gosh, I got to see what he's talking about, what he's doing later this week. Probably not. I probably would have been better off just coming on and telling a personal story or something like that. But usually business-centric webinars, we try to keep the fluff out of this because we're talking to people that do this for a living. So, but skip those boring pleasantries. Yes, you want somebody to introduce you most likely. You want them to do the housekeeping stuff, right? Restrooms are in the back, right? Here's some notepads for your stuff. Make sure you stop at the table for X, Y, and Z. And then they do that short, relevant introduction. But when you walk on stage, when you have their attention for that first couple of minutes, right? Don't waste that by, oh, thank you for coming today. This is my practice. Here's a picture of my firm standing in front of our building. We're all smiling, right? You're setting yourself aside of every single other presenter they've heard, and you haven't even gotten to the topic yet. And your audience is sitting back like this. They might fold their arms and they're thinking, I've heard this before. You have not even mentioned one speaking point yet, but you're talking about your practice. You're talking about who you are. You're showing the office staff up there, and they are leaned back, waiting for the seminar to be over within the first 90 seconds that you've been there. So skip that stuff. You can do that later, but not the first thing you say when you get on stage. What you want to do is tell them why you're here, not why they're here, not why they signed up. You want to tell them your why. And if you haven't figured that out yet, if you don't have a clear reason why you're educating people, why you're in the business, absolutely, take a look at some of the other resources. Frank Maselli does a great, why. I just listened to a podcast with Jamie Hopkins. He did a great, find your why. There's tons of resources out there to find your why. So, but once you have that, you want to showcase your credibility in a very human way. If you can tell a personal story of why you got into the business, why you do what you do, what's interesting is the more personal it is, almost the more universal it is. And it's an art form, okay? Because you can't go on for 17 minutes about, I was born in Minnesota, and then I moved to Michigan when I was 6, and then I studied this and this and this. Like, get to the point, show yourself as a human being first with your credibility baked in, and get a story, an opening that gets them to say, oh man, this is going to be different. What's he going to be talking about? What's she going to be covering? I'm into this, right? And get them to lean in. Watch your audience, how they physically react to your opening statement. If they do this, change it. If their body posture just kind of moves forward a little bit, now you're on the right path. So, okay, you skipped the boring pleasantries. You got their attention with an opening story. Here's what you're going to do next. You're going to give them agenda. I did that today, right? We're going to cover these 3 things. What that does is helps your audience build a mental checklist. Okay, that maintains engagement. It also sets proper expectations. Okay, and what you're doing is the brain will naturally want to complete tasks. And if I say we have 3 things we're going to cover today, and you cover the first thing, it's interesting to me. You cover the second thing, doesn't apply to me at all. It's not applicable. I don't care, right? I'm still going to pay attention because now I'm waiting for that third thing, because I know I have 3 things to check off in my brain. I understand the agenda, and your brain will naturally want to finish things that it starts. Another great reason you want to give an agenda at the first or at the beginning there is because you want them to understand that the seminar is moving forward and that you're getting close to an end, that things are progressing. The worst thing you can do is just get in front of people and then speak for 59 minutes and then say, okay, we're done. Okay, you have to let them know that this is progressing. They drove down there. They took a half hour of the time to get in the car, drive down there. They're going to listen to you speak for an hour. They're going to drive down back home for another half hour. They're giving you 2 hours of their time, right? And that whole time they're thinking, man, 2 hours is a long time. Maybe I should be doing something else. So if you can give them an agenda and make sure that things are moving forward, then you're going to really help them stay mentally connected to you, even if you get into some of the weeds and the details and stuff that you might have to explain but are a little bit boring, right? And finally, the content. You have to keep it simple, okay? This is not a game to see who can teach the most, okay? It's not if you teach them, 4 things, you're gonna fail compared to the guy that taught them 8 things. That's literally not how seminars work. Your brain can only hold and retain so much data pushed into it at a certain time, right? So think of it. I watched one speaker one time, and he talked about carrying bowling balls. Think about that. You have 3 main things. Okay, I might be able to handle that. Now you got 4 and 5 and 6. You're going to lose all of it, right? So keep it simple. And one thing to think of is, what language are you speaking? Okay, there are acronyms, there's terminology that you use in your daily life when it comes to financial related topics that, quite frankly, your attendees don't understand, they don't know it, they don't care. And if you're speaking above them or at them, you are not speaking to them. So keep it simple. Take those complex strategies, boil it down to something that is digestible and something that they can remember in 14 days. That's a good thought process, right? If you say something today, will your attendee be able to remember that in 14 days? If the answer is no, it might be a little too complex, right? And you can get into the weeds, you can get into those details. It helps show your credibility a little bit, but make sure there's this overarching topic that is easy to understand. So we've talked about what to do before you step on stage. We talked about openings now to get your audience to lean in and that content that you be focusing on. But none of that matters if you can't close and drive those correct people at the end of this to meet with you. You have to get people to attend. You have to get people interested. But if you can bring it all together with purpose, that's how you achieve what matters most. And that's appointments with those correct people that are sitting in your audience. So we see 3 things that consistently perform throughout seminars. First, you have 3 segments, you have 4 segments, maybe. What you should be doing at the end of each segment is a trial close. And what I mean by that is you're not book a meeting with me today at the end of every segment. That's not what you're doing. Webinars, you actually can do that, but tune in tomorrow and I'll show you how to do some of that stuff, because that is actually a good tactic in a webinar, but it's a little different environment, right? Seminars, you don't do that because they have one opportunity. They got to walk to the back of the room. They got to sign up. You don't do that at the end of each segment. So a trial close is you're priming that pump. First off, you should never blindside them at the end of your seminar by, oh, I gave you all this information. Now you have to meet with me. That has to be presented often and upfront, but in a variety of different ways. So at the end of each segment, you're going to have that presumptive close, but you're also going to appeal to different members of the audience. You're going to appeal to the emotional people. You're going to appeal to the tactical people. You're going to tell stories. And if you can present a different style of close through each end segment, and then at the very end, you wrap it all together. You should be looking at the end of each of those to say, okay, what am I using now that says, ooh, they need to book an appointment? Okay, so every segment at the end, look at that. One thing that works very well that you can reference right at the beginning, right after your power opening, is you get into the part one of a two-part series, right? I'm sure you guys have all heard this, but if you're setting that expectation up front, you're letting them know that, hey, you're going to grab a time in the back of the room. We're going to call you afterwards. If you make it easy for them to understand that, hey, the first part of this is general information. We're going to, half of you in this room today are going to walk out of here thinking, you know what, this is great. This is all I need. I don't have any concerns that would affect my retirement today. I'm good to go. The other half of you are going to say, well, you know what, I got some really specific questions. I don't really understand how this works compared to that. That's what part two is for. That's that deep dive into your situation that we can't cover here today, right? But this is part one of a two-part series. Next, stories to embed throughout your presentation. Stories are a great way to hit both sides of the brain, okay? If you're showcasing real results, that shows that you're a professional, that you're credible, that you can help them, but you're also highlighting the tactical steps that they need to take in order to get those results. That's when the real magic happens. I was given a webinar just like this a few weeks ago. An advisor reached out to me afterwards and he said, hey, Brad, I loved your tactic on this and that. I'd love to set up a time to meet. Maybe I could get a webinar going. We did that. He just had his event last week. He immediately booked 10 out of the 15 people that attended for first appointments, and he said they're going fantastic, right? What I did there is you're telling a story. People like stories. And it doesn't have to be as blatantly obvious as that one was, right? Yeah, dress it up a little bit. But you're outlining not only the results that they might expect, the problems that you helped solve, but also you're telling them the tactical steps. They attended a webinar. They spoke with me after. They booked an appointment. We scheduled an event, right? Those things embedded into that story are telling them exactly what you want them to do. And then at the end, when you say, okay, stop at the back of the room and set up your appointment for your part two, you're not blindsiding them and then thinking, oh my goodness, I got to get out of here. And one final just bonus tip for you, you should absolutely do a Q&A if you are comfortable with it, right? It lends credibility. It allows you to mix it up. There's engagement from the audience. There's a lot of benefits. You don't always have to, but if you can do one, do one. But I'll tell you this, never end with one, because it makes sense, right? I covered all my material and now we're going to see if there's any questions. It makes sense. It's natural. It flows. I do it probably far too often when I'm doing webinars. But what it does is it takes your opportunity away to let your audience leave with one clear message. Instead of that, you bump the Q&A earlier in the presentation, maybe 2/3, 3/4 of the way through. You get through that Q&A, and then you go back to your close. You go back to, hey, this is what we covered today. This is why you need to meet with me. Book with Joe in the back of the room, right? Because the last thing that should be on your attendees' mind is the message you want to give them, not that person sitting in the back that raises their hand with some super weird topic question that's overly analytical that they're just trying to trip you up on, right? That's not what you want your whole audience to get up and leave the room thinking, well, yeah, I don't know the question of that. I don't know the answer to that question either. And it didn't sound like he did, right? That's not what you want to do, right? What you want them to leave on is that clear message that you set while you practiced before your event, that you had the proper follow-up put in place. That's what you want them to walk out on. So I hope you absolutely got something out of it today. My name is Brad Swiner. Hit me up on LinkedIn if you have any questions about any of the stuff that I've covered. But if you want to have a successful seminar, success starts before you get on that stage, right? You have to prepare. It can't be about you. Select the right venue, select the right topic, practice, get that dynamic opening down, right? You want your audience to lean in. And finally, you have to have closes that drive the correct people to meet with you. And one thing that is just apparent in every industry that I've worked in is there's a difference between the people that take action, and there's a difference between the people that do constant research and never actually put it into motion. So the white glove solution, what I want to cover today is, when are seminars coming back? What are they doing? What happens to attendance below? I'm going to show you how to have a risk-free seminar that we do all of the work. You can stay focused on your clients and prospects. There's no upfront marketing costs. There's no upfront venue costs. There's a pay for attendance model that you pay after your event only for the people that log onto a webinar or sit in a seat at a seminar. If they register and they don't show up, those are free to you. And everything we do, we want to stand shoulder to shoulder with our advisors. That's why I led with value today. Even if you don't use us, we want advisors to see more success, and our business is based on reorders. So not only is there no upfront costs, but we actually guarantee that you will pick up a client if you're following the white glove system and you're working with us. So we're guaranteeing registrations, attendees, appointments, and an actual client out of our service. I don't know that any other business in this industry offers these guarantees, and we feel very strongly that we need to stand shoulder to shoulder with our advisors. A big part is because we're founded by financial advisors. They understand the practice. They help guide us of what you guys need most. So if you want to know what topics, what areas are great in your geographical territory, please reach out. We're going to give a free marketing analysis that allows you to see what you should be speaking on, so you're not just guessing, right? We can analyze the demand for advisors, the ideal demographics, investor demand based on a specific topic, and we're going to coin what we call a success zone. This technology we've used it for years to plan successful events. Now we want to offer it out to any advisor. Give us a call, shoot us an email at info@whiteglove or come to whiteglove.com, and we will help you determine what works in your area, even if you work with us or not. What this allows you to do is to see those prospects that have a higher demand, but also avoid saturating your own market. So we take all the guesswork out of it. If you do work with White Glove, I'm going to show you some of the free support systems that we put in place for optimal conversions. We have pre-event support. Before your event, we're really going to make sure you're prepared. Post-event, we have a branding campaign, enhanced registration detail, and then that success zone, green zone event marketing. And again, you can use that, get your free analysis. We'll do that whether you work with us or not. So before the event, you know what, I said we're going to pay for everything. We're actually going to look into your desired geographical area, and we're going to say, okay, these are the topics that'll work. These are the inventory that's available. You get to set your budget, saying how many households you want to pay for. And then we do all the marketing, all the registration, all the confirmations, all those reminders. We even book your venue for you. So we'll actually go out, we'll find a top performing venue. We'll say, hey, how does this one look? You'll say, yep, that one looks great. And then we'll book that for you. We'll pay for it. We'll cover any insurance that's needed. We don't make a dime on that. We add that venue cost to your bill after your event. And you're only going to pay for the households that actually show up. So one thing that's unique about us is we don't market an event branded, flashy advisor, come meet me, right? This isn't real estate where you put your face on everything. What we do is we use a nationally recognized educational branding for all of your seminars. So when you're hosting an event with us, your attendees can see that this is a national educational company This is rated on the Better Business Bureau. This is 5 stars on Facebook. And they can see that, hey, you know what? This event is educational. This event has had thousands of people attend, and they've gotten fantastic financial information for it. And when you host a seminar with us, you're going to do your introduction. You're going to say, I was selected as the local professional because I'm an expert in taxes and retirement by this group, a nationally recognized brand. And this is what I do in my day job. But today we're here to give you that education. Okay. We're going to coach you, train you, and prep you for optimal conversions at your event. And we do all of this before you've ever paid us a single cent. You know, even on our registration page, we offer that people can opt in for an appointment with you. So after the event, you show up, you rock it, you kill it. You got some hand raisers. They booked appointments at the back of the room, but we know advisors will get 40 registrations. 20 are going to show up. They're going to book meetings with 10. 5 of those will attend. They're going to pick up 2 clients. They're going to have a positive ROI from those 2 clients. They're going to take the other 38 and they're going to throw them in the trash, and they're going to do another event. So what we've done is a full round of post-event support, trying to get more and more of those registrations to turn into appointments. And this includes text messages, phone calls, emails that are branded to you that go out to every single registration. We shoot a little video with you, all designed to book more meetings on your calendar. So these are done for you campaigns that we run absolutely free to every single person that registered for your event, even the ones you didn't pay for. And they're all action oriented. It's all branded to you. And this is available for our seminars, our food events, and even our webinars. And that first round of phone calls is handled by our professional call center. So you don't even have to worry about that, but it's all designed to get those registrations to turn into appointments, and it's all absolutely free. So if you're looking to get started, you want to host a seminar risk-free, right? If nobody shows up, that's on us, not on you. It's very simple. You're just going to pick your topic. You're going to set a budget and when you want that event to happen, and we're going to get to work. You are going to learn your presentation. You're going to dial in your power opening, your strategic close, your embedding throughout, and then you're just going to show up to a packed room full of the people that are interested to meet with you and hear what you have to say. And then you give them a clear reason for them to meet with you afterwards. And that's what it's like working with White Glove. We don't sell territories. We're not going to charge you just to lock in your backyard. What we would do is we'll determine how much inventory is in the area, and that's what's on the shelf for sale. So here's the pricing for it. I told you I was going to give you a special offer here, and I will keep my word for it. If you've stuck around this far, if you're looking to get started with us, it's about 4 to 6 weeks for your very first event. We're going to send you a host agreement that just says, hey, this is what we're going to do, this is what you're going to do, and then you fill out that order form. Now, an average order with us is 20 households per event. That's going to be about 40 to 50 registrations. That means 20 to 30 free leads. No shows are absolutely free. If only 17 households show up, you only pay for 17. If the boiler explodes in the library the night before your event and nobody shows up, well, then you didn't pay us anything. You pay after your event, and you only pay on actual attendance. So typical event order is 2 events in a 7-day period, maybe a Monday evening, a Thursday afternoon. Those weren't great for us, but we'll coach you on that. So if you've stuck around all the way to this point, please reach out to White Glove. Say you were a part of this week of knowledge, if you will, and we're going to give you 30% off your first order of 60 households. Or if you want to use one of those green zones, that Success Zone technology, we're actually going to give you 50% off. So you have to order by the end of the month. You got to host them this year. But again, the world rewards action takers, and so does White Glove. I really appreciate your time today. Thank you very much for doing it on. Tune in tomorrow where we're going to talk about webinars and how to change your webinar outlook and give you the exact secret sauce to make them high converting. Later this week, we're going to be talking about social media. And then Friday, we're going to talk that marketing plan. How do you wrap it all together and move forward? And how can White Glove do all of this for you so that you can focus on 2 things: meeting new prospects, speaking with your clients. I'm Brad Swinehart. Thank you much for joining us today. I appreciate all your attention, and we'll talk to you soon.